Thanks for checking out this movie review video. This is for the 2024 release, Azrael. It's a Shudder original and it's coming to Shudder on Friday, October 25th. So this is a no spoiler review. So let me go ahead and tell you, directed by E.L. Katz, who did the films Cheap Thrills, ABCs of Death 2, they did a segment for that. Channel Zero, a bunch of episodes of Channel Zero, which was a pretty good show, and some episodes of The Haunting of Bly Manor, which I haven't seen Haunting of Bly Manor, and Cheap Thrills I haven't seen either, but someone was recently, one of my subscribers, was recently highly recommending Cheap Thrills to me, so I think I need to check that one out. This one's written by Simon Barrett, who has written things like Frankenfish, A Horrible Way to Die, You're Next, Blair Witch, the remake, Seance, terrible film, and Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire, which actually was a pretty decent film. Again, Shudder original coming Friday, October 25th. So, synopsis. I don't really want to give away too much on this film because there isn't a whole lot of story to it. So it's basically about a world post-rapture where there are people who cannot speak any longer. And you find that out immediately, and there is pretty much no dialogue. There's like one character throughout this film who actually talks briefly, and it's in another language, and there are no subtitles. So other than that one character, everyone else is silent, is not, I don't say silent, they're not speaking words. There are noises that are made from time to time. So you have to be really paying attention. This isn't one of those films where you can, be scrolling on your phone or doing whatever on your phone and listening to dialogue, because there isn't any. There's no dialogue to listen to. So you really need to pay attention. So anyway, synopsis, it's about this world that they created, and a one woman in particular who's played by Samara Weaving, who does a awesome job. Samara Weaving does a really good job, especially because it's a very demanding role because she can't deliver dialogue. So everything, her facial expressions, her body language, it all has to match up with what the scenes need. And I think she does a phenomenal job with that, which people would probably assume because she's a very seasoned actor who does a wonderful job. So, it's her character kind of going through a journey and trying to avoid this group of people who, for whatever reason, are after her. I don't want to give that away, but it's just basically about that. And there are a lot of choreographed fight scenes, which, by the way, are very well choreographed, in my opinion, for a lower budget film like this. And some good kind of intense fight moments. There's some decent gore in the film as well, but synopsis wise, that's all I'm going to end up giving you, because like I said, there isn't much story to it, and if I give you even a little bit of it, it's probably going to ruin a lot of it. So if you have any level of interest in this film, go ahead and check it out. I'm pretty middling on it, but I'll talk a little bit more about some things. With the beginning, you're really trying to get a grasp on what this world is that you're seeing. I already kind of laid out a little bit of what you would need to know and what you do find out very early on, but it is this thing where you're very unsure what kind of world you're in and what are the rules of this world and what are the rules of this story in general. So it does take you a little bit of time to kind of get your bearings, and that is made a little bit tougher by the fact that there is no dialogue. There are these kind of chapters to the film that are set up with some text that seems like it's kind of like this biblical text, but it's not actually, I don't think it's actually from the Bible. It's like its own created biblical type stuff. So as far as the no dialogue thing goes, I think it hinders the film more than it ends up helping the film. It seems to me like it was this idea that someone had, maybe Simon Barrett, who was just like, hey, wouldn't it be interesting to make a film where the characters don't speak? Okay, well, how do you make that matter to the story, really? And how do you make that interesting? And how do you make sure that that doesn't get in the way of telling a story or making it more interesting or having characters have more of a meaningful interaction with each other? And the answer for this one is it hinders all those things, unfortunately. I think it was an interesting concept. I don't think it's executed very well, because the only way that it matters to the story is there was a rapture, and now because of this rapture, there are people who don't speak. That's it. And then it doesn't matter after that. It plays almost no role in it, except maybe to be like, oh, a person can't yell for help right here. But there really aren't that many situations where anyone would really be doing that, because we're following this one character who seems to be in this setting where she has no allies. So I don't understand the idea to do that. Again, it hinders the film way more than it helps the film in any way. And I just think it was a bad choice at the end of the day. There's some solid gore in this. I am a fan of that. There's not a ton of gore, but when it does happen, it's one of those like copious amounts of blood type things. So I always appreciate that. When you're having blood in films, especially practical effects blood and not CGI, go hard. Like arterial spray, all that type of stuff. Go for it. So that's kind of a nice plus with the film. I already talked about the quote things. Bears repeating, Samara Weaving, great job with this, but I expected that. I'm sure a lot of people expected that. I think a main reason I've been seeing people online who are really excited about this film coming out is her being in it, because people love her from what she's done, which totally understandable. The score in this is pretty good. Obviously, that becomes even more important since there really is no dialogue. So they don't go too hard on the score, and the composition is pretty nice, especially for the world that they're trying to create here and the setting that they're shooting in. So really do like the use of the score and the composition of the score with this film. Fight choreography solid once again. It doesn't feel like there's any real compelling story moving the film forward. It's mainly just a bunch of encounters with other people by the main character, and you're just following it. So it just feels like it's missing story for the most part. Like there is a story there, but it just feels like it's missing a story that matters, a story that drives things forward and makes you want to stick with it. To be honest, when I was watching it early on, I was just kind of like, I feel like this isn't really going anywhere. I feel like there's not a whole lot of depth to the story, but maybe something pops up in the end, or maybe something pops up halfway through or something like that. And really, there is something that happens in the ending, and the ending is okay. It's kind of interesting, the ending, but it's also very drawn out for what it is. This is one of those films that's not very well paced. Although the action, there are a decent amount of action sequences, so that kind of like does a decent job of filling the time. But overall, not very well paced, and the ending itself is very drawn out, and it's just, I don't know, it's just not that compelling of a story for me. It's style over substance type thing, and I just don't get behind films like that, unfortunately. But I do know that there are some people out there who would really like to see this film, if for nothing other than just the Samara Weaving performance. So there are some good things about this. The fight choreography, the score is really good. The sound design is pretty solid as well. The performances are really good. There are moments that are quite interesting, the gore thing. So I'm pretty in between on it. So out of 5 stars, half stars in play, I'm going to give it a very in the middle 2.5-star rating. But this is where I'd love to hear from you, especially if you've seen the film. Did you love it, hate it, in between? You can put those comments down there. And we can talk spoilers. That's totally fine if you want to do that. Real quick, I did start memberships for the channel. If anyone's interested in that, that's link in the description so you can check that out. Subscribe to my channel to support me. I would love that. Thumbs up on this video if you want to help me with that YouTube algorithm. And notification bell button, go ahead and click that if you want to know when I'm putting up new videos. But regardless, thank you for taking your time to watch this. I do appreciate that. And until next time, keep it brutal.